Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Daffy's Roundtable. On this episode, I'm joined by Eric from the Reptiverse, one of the hosts of the Reptiles with podcast, and a passionate keeper working with a variety of really cool species. In this episode, we focus heavily on turtles, diving into his experiences with three-striped mud turtles, Japanese pond turtles, and diamondback terrapins. We talk about how he keeps them outside, what his setup looks like, and the joys and challenges of working with turtles. We also, of course, get into carpet pythons. We talk about what draws Eric to them and his future plans with his carpet pythons. Finally, we talk about his current job at Wild Florida Safari, where he cares for all the hoofstock, trains giraffes, awesome, and even works with ostriches, even more awesome. This was a super fascinating episode. I had a really good time chatting with Eric, and I think you're all going to enjoy this episode. But before we do that, allow me to thank Exoterra for sponsoring this podcast and making this episode possible. Exoterra makes quality products for our pet reptiles to make them feel at home. Also, one more thing before we get into the episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, or any of the other streaming platforms, please give us a follow. It really helps out the podcast, and I really appreciate it. Okay, without further ado, everybody, please help me welcome Eric from the Reptiverse. Eric, hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Can't complain. It's a nice day. I'm recording at my house, which is crazy. I'm not used to being at my own place when I'm doing any of this stuff. So it's an interesting feeling, but it's good. It's cool. Yeah, first time recording by myself too. So I don't have I don't have any eyes or anything looking at me. So I guess it's a plus.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for inviting me. Cool.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, we gotta at some point we had to get together to talk about carpet pythons. But before we get to carpet pythons, I'm sure we'll talk about a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, man, it's cool to most of my guests I've never met before I had on the podcast, and that would have been the case for us as well. Except we got a chance to meet last week, even if it was just very briefly. That was very cool. So I guess before we get into where we met and what you do and all that stuff, how did you get started in the hobby?
Well, I was one of those kids that like right out of the womb, I was like, all right, animals are my thing. So that was like my baseline interest for all of my life. With reptiles specifically, it was just the most available thing for me. So I started really young. I was like 7 or 8 years old when I got my first animal, was a little leopard gecko. But that was my first foot into it. And then from there, I played my cards very strategically because I got into the animals right as like a lot of the old YouTube people were starting to rise. So like I remember watching a lot of like Camp Kennan and even Brian Barczyk with snake bites and stuff. Like that started to pop off right when I was like getting into it, and I got super excited about it. So I strategically like I got a lot of animals throughout my life basically. And the thing that I would always use is like I would always ask for another dog or like an ATV or something like that, and then settle for like another snake or a gecko. But I've been keeping stuff a long, long time. I've kept a very large variety of animals. The only things I haven't really played around with are crocs and venomous. But everything that's available in like the pet trade for the most part, I've tried my best to like at least get some sort of hands-on with it. So I've been doing it for at least over 12, 13 years now. So
very cool. Yeah. And that's a great strategy of like, oh, I want all these things that, you know what, I'll settle for exactly what I wanted in the first place.
I would always use that when I worked at the reptile shop too. I would always use that for like the people that were like, oh, I don't know if like my parents or like my husband or my wife or whatever are going to be okay with it. It's like, no, listen, aim for this and settle for the ball python. Like I got you. And it worked every time.
Yeah. And that would be what at a pet store? Like, are you like the craziest reptile you had at the store or the most expensive and then settle for something a little bit more realistic?
Yeah. I mean, it didn't always work, but I'm happy with what I was able to do when I was able to keep too. So
yeah, that's
cool.
That's hilarious. I hope people are taking notes of these great strategies.
Terrible strategies, but they work.
Yeah, exactly. So what's currently in your, after all the years of keeping, what's in your collection now?
So right now in the room that I'm in right now, I keep right here. I have my little fat tail gecko. She's the last of like the first generation of animals I have. I
Cool.
call her. She's like my first gen, like my last gen one. So I have a fat tail. I have four carpets right now, two females, two females. I have a water python that I just set up in like a really, it's really ugly right now, but it's going to be a super sick, like semi-aquatic setup. So I got one of those. I have a blue tongue. I got a Japanese pond turtle, which is one of the coolest animals on earth. I will die on that hill. Pond turtles are awesome. What else do I have? I have to look around. Oh yeah, I have my Puerto Rican boa back here. He's like the the amalgamation of like you did the reptile thing just because it's one of my favorite snakes and I get to have one. It's really cool. And I also have a little long nosed snake down here as well. They're a strange species. I really like them. They're interesting. It's like a tiny king snake with like a really pointy nose.
What is it called?
Um,
Long nose snake?
yeah, long nosed snake. They're from the Southwest. They're really interesting. I haven't really seen many of them in the hobby. When I got him, it was the first one I had ever seen. So that just goes to show the amount of research that I did when I was a kid getting this stuff.
Yeah.
Um, I had no clue what I got. And I went home and I was like, oh, this is a lizard eater. I'm screwed. But I got super lucky. That thing never refuses food. I feed it hoppers and I've had it on and off for about 10 years because I kept it for a long time. I gave it to a friend of mine and then she gave it back to me. Um, so he's an interesting animal.
That's
What
a
else do
cool
I have?
mix.
And then outside, Pied
Oh no.
pectinata.
Wait.
Huh?
Hold on, sorry.
What's going on? Ah!
I was trying to remove the screen and I removed you by accident. Sorry, go back. So outside you have
So outside, I have the rest of the stuff. I have a little iguana, a little Mexican spiny tail, Pied pectinata. She's cool. She's little. She's like a juvenile, but she just turned black and white, so it's pretty cool.
That's
I
awesome.
have a little pair of day geckos, and then the rest of the stuff is turtles, tortoises. I have a pair of redfoots outside. Coolest turtle I have is a diamondback terrapin. Very, very lucky, very blessed to be able to have that. Just because here in Florida, you can't keep them anymore. They completely banned the animal. You can't keep it. You can't present them, breed them, sell them, everything. It's like banned.
So
And
how
I was
come you
lucky enough
settled
to
that
get it.
first?
Well, I literally got her like a few months before they passed that law. So I was like, oh, I got grandfathered in like perfectly, like in time, perfectly.
That's awesome.
So very lucky for that. What else do I have? I have a bunch of three stripe mud turtles. I have a bunch of babies. I like to raise turtles. It's fun. That's it. Just turtles, tortoises outside, the iguana. Everything else is up here. But that's as far as I have right now. I've had a lot more stuff. Basically, I got everything from PetSmart. I got everything from the reptile store, except for the big stuff like boas and stuff like that. But I
Yeah.
guess I consider carpets kind of big. They're like a medium sized snake, but that's what I got
They're
going.
fairly big size. Yeah, that's cool,
Yeah,
man. I did know about like I have a bunch of questions set up kind of tailored towards turtles and tortoises, but I didn't realize
for
you're
sure.
keeping that many species.
It used to be more diverse. And I always say now that I'm trying to get rid of stuff. I'm trying to get rid of stuff. But like here I am with the amount of animals I have. But something that I did learn is that keeping such a big variety of animals kind of sucked because like I'm buying all sorts of feed. I need I need so many different types of like equipment and like everything needs a different like care routine that it gets out of hand really quickly. So once I started realizing that I couldn't really take care of everything, I kind of downsized and I basically minimized as much as I could to only keep animals that I intended to do some sort of thing
Project.
with, whether it was like breeding project or like a like shows. Like it's still a thing that I want to do, but like I have a set of animals that it's like okay, if I ever have to do like a birthday party, if I have to bring animals to somebody's event, I have this, and that's kind of like justification of keeping the stuff that I do, and it's working. Everything that I have has been used in birthday parties, and I have for the turtles and the day geckos and all that stuff, so it's working out.
Yeah, you said that's something you want to do more of. Is that kind of like the direction you're hoping to go more on the education, doing birthday parties and that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah. The last job I had before the zoo, I did a lot of outreach events, so I kind of got my fix doing that, and I got more training in it in a sense. I didn't use my animals. It was more specific to native wildlife.
Cool.
But I got my feet wet with, actually doing events and stuff like that. So it's something that I like to do. I haven't really done much work in terms of like organizing and like making like an established, like, I guess, like page or whatever. So people can start, like, hey, I want to do a party. Hey, I want to do an event. But it's always there at the ready. Like if my friends or something ever need, like, yo, someone called and wants to do a birthday with reptiles, like that happened the other day. My friends ended up calling me to do it. I wasn't able to do it, but the fact that we have those avenues and stuff, it's cool. And I have the animals to back it up. So it's like, oh, nice. It's fun to do because I, when it comes to like what I can do with what I'm doing right now, what I have in terms of like putting these animals in a good light, all I know how to do, what I know how to do best is kind of like talk about it and show people. So I always lean very heavy into the education aspect because like it's like that whole cliche. It's like, oh, you show a little kid like a lizard or something, and that idea sits in their head and then creates the next reptile person or animal person or something like that. So that's
Right.
kind of the idea that I have behind that to kind of, I don't know, something to think about when it comes to keeping all this stuff. So
Yeah, it's very cool. And your name, your Instagram name is kind of set up for it. Like you come up, like you can advertise it like
everything, yeah,
enter
Reptiverse.
into the universe, the Reptiverse, or whatever.
I'm very proud of it. I'm so lucky, so lucky that that was an untouched name because I have it on Instagram and YouTube. So I'm like, oh, I'm happy, but like I have to do something with it. I got to use the name, I can't just
Yes,
sit on it.
yes. You guys, yeah, exactly. You got the name. You got
Hmm.
to use it now. We need
Hmm.
more Reptiverse content. That's what we
I
need.
want to make stuff. Just like I'm terrible with like I'm a procrastinator, man. I just got to sit
Well,
down and record.
yeah. Well,
Like,
you're also to give yourself some credit. You also work all the time, and you're already on the on a podcast,
yeah,
and. But it
yeah,
would be cool to
my
see some of your collection.
yeah. I've always wanted to like, and I've tried my best. Like, I would. The thing is too, like, I have creative spurts. So like, I'll create like a million reels, and because I'm an idiot, I would like post them all at the same time instead of like letting them drip feed and stuff. But I'm like, oh,
Right.
they're already there, and I don't want to be like one of those people who like repost and stuff, which I might do because like I want to post stuff again. I need to get like a better phone so I can take better videos and photos and stuff with more space. But I
Yeah.
gotta also like keep myself going on those creative like runs because it's like right now it's like a super creative high, and then I'll have like months that I don't post anything or don't even look at anything. So I got to keep myself consistent. That's like the biggest thing that's kept me from like actually doing it. So it's like a slow thought that I have in my head just in the background because when it comes to like social media stuff, it tends to be secondary a lot of the time because like you have to have your regular job, you have to have like your life and stuff. It's and because of the people we know, like it's very you can see like, oh, when they try to do social media, it takes up a lot of time. So I'm trying to make that balance. But we'll see how it goes. See how it
Yeah,
goes.
that's it's just I feel very similarly to how you say I take tons and tons of videos that would make great reels. Like my whole phone is filled up with just like videos of animals and stuff like that would make great reels. I'm very good at all that process. I'll record 4 or 5. This is my second episode. Like I'll record a bunch of episodes in a row, and
Mhm.
then it comes to the actual like editing and releasing process, and I just lose it there, and I don't know where the momentum goes, but. I absolutely feel you on the procrastination side for
Yeah,
sure.
it's real. It's real.
Yeah. So okay, so a couple of things. First of all, you mentioned the three striped mud turtles.
Mhm.
Those are the super tiny ones.
Yes, they're a little baseball shaped. Well, not baseball
Okay.
shaped, baseball size turtles. Muds and musks in general. They're going to be those little tiny guys. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you
They're-
set? And you keeping them outside as well?
yeah.
Okay, very cool. Which for I'm sure everybody listening to this already knows, but I'm super jealous that you guys get to keep things outside because I think, that adds to the experience. But how do you have the
Yeah.
mud turtle set up outside?
I just have them in. I think it's a Zoom Ed tub. It's like that. It's about the size of like a 40-gallon, but it's like a plastic tub,
Cool.
and I just have that with some water, some live plants, bunch of duckweed, and they have a soil area. And luckily, I mean, I also the turtles that I keep at this point, I try to keep everything that can live in Florida, so I don't have to worry about them at all for the seasons.
Right. You never
This
have to
time of
bring them
year,
home.
it's starting to cool down. They don't have to. The thing is too, because since it's outside, you don't have to worry about like gradually cooling them down. Because I know that's a big problem with keeping stuff inside. Outside, you don't have to worry about anything for the most part because they just naturally cool off and stuff like that. But I just have them outside. They get their sun, they get their Missouri pellets, and they hang out. They do their thing. Um, the stripes are, at least as far as like keeping wise, those are the first ones I ever got, so they're very sentimental. Um, and they're just really fun. They're practical, very easy to keep. Even when I had them indoors, I had them in a 40-gallon breeder for I think like 2 3 years. All three of them were just hanging out doing their thing, and they still produced eggs in there. And they had plenty of space to like do their thing. And now that they're outside, it's like 10 times better for them because outside, they get the sun, they get the dark borders of the plastic, so they don't have to worry about stressing. It's cool.
Yeah, and do I know that like musk turtles tend to not really come out of the water at all. Do they act the same, or do you find them basking and like kind of chilling outside the water?
So interesting question because from at least the turtles that I've interacted with, like with muds, with musks, wild and in captivity, they're all kind of all over the place. Like my personal mud turtles, they act like sliders. So they go everywhere. They do their thing. Well, I should say two of them do. One of the ones that I have does act like a traditional musk and mud that just sits in the water, never comes out.
Okay.
Um, I think it has to do with how they're raised because I raised two of them indoors since they were like a little tiny thing. So they're a lot more, they come out a lot more. But I will say in general, they don't really come out of the water very much. Like I used to keep a musk, an adult musk, and I never saw it bask ever, ever, ever. And I had it in like a big like stock tub outside. I probably saw it bask maybe once. I saw it come out for food probably once or twice, but they don't really come out very much. But then again, in the wild, I've never seen one near water. I've always seen them crossing the road. I've always seen them in a yard or something like that. So they move around a lot. They have the reasons to move around too. I'm sure they're looking for spots to lay eggs and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but it's variable at least from what I've seen. But I do tend to like default to like they don't really come out the water too much. And if they do, they hang around the shallows. Where that soil is still kind of like viscous enough that they can swim in and kind of sift through towards the edge of like like waterways and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. One of the biggest, like, I made quite a few realizations, let's call them, while I was in Florida. Like, just, while I was out herping with Chucky, I noticed some things about, like, the corn snake environment that I didn't think
Mm.
of, just like seeing them in captivity or whatever. But one of the biggest realizations I made in Florida, while I was jumping around from like place to place, I was like trying to visit as many reptile stores as possible. And it is crazy. And I think we all knew this as Canadian keepers before, but like seeing it is really a big difference. It's crazy how much variety of turtles and tortoises you guys have available to
Really?
you as pets, and the price differences, man. Like I saw
Oh yeah,
pets
yeah.
for like $45, and I think here they're like 600 700. Like it's crazy.
What?
Yeah, yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
what species?
Musk turtles. Musk turtles. Like I
Really?
mean,
Like a
I may be
common
on the
musk?
higher end of. Yeah, yeah, like a common musk.
Wow,
Like I don't think I've ever seen one cheaper than like $300 $400.
that's crazy.
And right now, like the most recent like spin of an expo that I've done, I saw them at like $600 $700. And that's not like, oh,
That's
they're available
insane.
everywhere. It's like there's probably like 2 pairs, 3 pairs of the entire
Huh.
expo. Like, it's
I
it's
assume it has
crazy.
to do with like the legality, right?
Yeah, I don't believe we're allowed to bring any more into Canada. So I think
Yeah,
it's
because if
whatever's
I
here
don't,
is
if I'm not
here.
mistaken, I think all species they're like, I always forget like the legality situation, but as far as I think that they all got switched to like CITES, like one of the levels of CITES that you can't do any sort of international transport. So everything we have in the States is what we have. Everything y'all got in Canada, that's what you guys get. There's no more like crisscrossing.
So it's the same for you guys, except you guys just already had a large
Yeah,
part of species, I guess.
yeah,
Okay.
because I remember. a big reason too that they started to drop too is that I think it had to do with China. Like once China shut down, or I don't know, I don't remember which country shut down the importation, but China was the biggest consumer of turtles here in Florida. Like a lot of the big turtle people, that's who they all sold to.
We're selling
So
them.
I think
Okay,
once,
yeah,
yeah, that's once that got cut off. I think a lot of that kind of whole business kind of just died off. If I'm remembering correctly, I haven't really dabbled into the industry as much, but from what I've been like told and from what I've seen and stuff like that, it seems to be the case. Because out of nowhere, albino red ears started popping up everywhere. Now you can get them as cheap as like $70, where that
yeah.
used to be a like a lot of money. So
Dude, I so that's another species that I saw that I was like, I don't even believe
mhm.
I'm seeing these turtles at these prices. Like it's wild. Or I
Yeah,
saw in so much variety too. Like um I need to check my phone for pictures, but like I think off the top of my head, like I think I saw like Indian spotted turtles, and I
yeah,
saw like pink pink belly side neck, I think they're called or something.
yeah. Pink belly
Like
side necks; those guys are everywhere, and I'm surprised at how cheap the albinos are.
it's
But
crazy, man.
yeah,
But so I say that the reverse of that, which I also found interesting. Yeah, there's the store, the final store I went to. That I wonder if I can zoom in and yeah, Peninsula Cooters for 89, Caramel Albino Red Slider for 120, Common Musk
mhm.
for 50, Baby Albino Red Sliders for 60.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
like
I just
crazy.
it's been a while too. It's been like probably like 3 or 4 years since like the turtle prices have dropped, but I still don't. It doesn't click for me because I
Yeah,
always remember seeing like, for example, I think the only one that really kind of holds value, at least in the industry, is albino snapping turtles, maybe. But even then, they're a lot cheaper than what they used to be.
yeah.
So
I don't even see those on the list here, but um, like even the Florida soft shells, which I think are probably like super expensive here. I have no idea. I don't even think I've ever seen one, but like $38, bro. Like what?
yeah, soft shells. The thing is too, like what really sucks about like turtle pricing is like I wish they were a little more money, not because of making money as a bit like
No,
from
I
like a
get
breeder perspective, but it's like they're too cheap for what they
yes,
are because it
yes,
attracts the worst attention.
100%.
Because in my time at the reptile shop, a turtle or a tortoise sits very comfortably as a like a middle ground between an exotic pet and like a mainstream pet. I've never heard of anybody who doesn't like turtles. Like everyone's okay with turtles. So it's like you go to the reptile shop, a specialty store where you'd expect someone to be a little more informed about what they're getting, but it's like you still find the people that really don't see the turtle as anything other than like a little toy commodity or something like that. So
Yeah,
trying to justify the sale of a $20 turtle to a like $200-300 setup, trying to justify that is like one of the worst things I've ever had to experience. It's like, yes, those turtles will survive for X amount of years in the shoebox. Will they be healthy? No. Will they eat for you? Yes. Will they live X amount of years? Probably. That doesn't mean that's the way you're supposed to do it. So it's like
yeah,
they just attract the worst attention because turtles are like, I don't want to say that they're hard to take care of, but it's just like you got to set them up right for them to actually do their thing. So it's like I always hated selling turtles because I knew how cheap they were because people would walk in wanting a snake. The snake was $200, and then they
they'll
go to the
settle on a
lizard.
turtle.
The lizard was $50, and then they go to the turtle, little red-eared slider morph or a little yellow belly, $15.
Right,
Easy. It's easy
easy,
to
bro.
shut the kid up with that and then have it die and then come back to the reptile shop and get the same thing. That's something that happened multiple times. I'm like, you guys are losing the point. You're not playing the
Yeah,
game right. It's terrible.
right,
But
right. It's
oh
like
man,
almost like a goldfish, right? Like they just want to put
yeah,
a goldfish in a bowl, and yeah, it's very interesting, very interesting.
yeah. Goldfish mentality is that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, like
Like that.
the whole disposable pet thing, right? Like I
Yeah.
remember when you could win. Like I had one of the guests even told me an anole. I haven't seen an anole yet, but I have seen like the carnival games where you win like a goldfish or you win like a red-eared slider,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they're expecting you to take it home and have it die in like 4 or 5 days, which is wild. That it's just an expectation. Yeah, that'll be dead in a couple of days. They
It's
like
it
yeah,
sucks. It sucks, but That is the
Yeah,
unfortunate truth of the pet trade. You know, it has a lot of good, but at the same time, there is a lot of bad in it, and it's all it's all people's fault at the end of the day. So it's like you try to give people a good idea and try to hope that they'll follow through with those good ideas, but it doesn't always work out because not everybody has the same view of the animals as us. You know,
very
there are a
true.
lot of people that have a snake or have like a bearded dragon that aren't necessarily like animal people. I wouldn't even say as far as like saying reptile people, but like animal people.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of people who just casually keep a pet, which is fine. Just do it right. That's all I ask, you know. And funny enough, I have also seen a fair amount of like non-animal people take way better care of their reptiles than actual reptile people, because I also think that there is a a lot of the time what I've noticed with reptile keeping is because we keep so many, it becomes like a trading card mentality that I've
yes,
seen
yes.
that I don't see with the regular people per se, just because they'll treat that bearded dragon the same way they would treat a dog or a cat. Whereas with reptile people, not that we don't do it, but there is a lot of people who treat it more as like a reptile, almost like it's like another placeholder in the reptile room or something like that, and they don't necessarily offer it the best they could. I won't even I'm not even afraid to admit I used to think like that too, which is why I got rid of a lot of stuff, because like it got to the point where I started looking around and it's like I feel like it's like a garage full of cars that you kind of just want to switch out and like get new ones of. And I was like, once I started thinking like that, I was like, nah, I think I'm losing the point. So I started getting rid of the stuff that I knew that I wasn't really like
Paying as much
vibing
attention.
with as much. Exactly, like stuff that I knew that I could do better for, but didn't have the urge to do better for. I try to get rid of. Um, so that really made a big change in perspective of me. That's actually right when I started working at the reptile shop too. That's when my perspective changed about like keeping and stuff like that, because I basically saw the underbelly and I saw myself on the other side of the table and seeing how everything goes. And it's like, dang, is that really what I looked like when I was buying this stuff? I'm like, oh shoot, no,
I don't
I
like
gotta change
that.
my ways. Yeah, you know. But I'm happy that I found my. I'm very comfortable with my keeping and my ideals when it comes to pet keeping. It could always get better, and it always is changing and stuff like that. But you know, it's an experience. I always look around like, what am I doing? I have so many snakes upstairs. What's wrong with me? But I feel we all
Yeah.
have that sentiment too. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Gets worse every time I want to travel too.
yeah,
I'm like, I was gonna have all these animals. I feel bad, but I
yeah.
have to go. Like, yeah, but yeah, no. Um, yeah, it's a very good point. All of these points are very good points that you're making, and it is sad to see, and it does give kind of the opposite side, like the anti pet trade, a lot of ammo, which is why we all kind of
Hmm.
need to do better. But anyway, so kind of jumping back to the turtles in the backyard.
Yeah,
Do you
turtles.
have
Yeah,
to predator proof? Yeah, something we like to talk about. Yeah. Do you have
yes,
to predator proof your ponds or however you're keeping them as
yeah. I
well?
learned the hard way. I learned the hard way. So the first thing I started keeping outside was the turtles, and I already knew like, oh yeah, I got to put stuff over my tubs to make sure everything's okay. But I learned the hard way because my stuff just wasn't strong enough. Um, and I've had some raccoons basically like take apart my old lids and stuff like that, and it got as far as me leaving a tub full of babies uncovered, and
Whoa,
they all like order 66 happened. They all got like murked by this raccoon. And I just woke up the next day and I saw it was terrible. I saw little shells all over the yard and I was like, no way. Like
that
that
sucks.
was my that was my firstborn that died there. Like that was crazy.
What species?
But that it was three stripes. I had a ton of baby three stripes. I had like I think 15 at that time. Um, but yeah, it was the thing is like keeping stuff outside is super easy, but it's also extremely easy to screw up. And when you screw up, it's the worst possible scenario because the animal dies. So if it's not predators, it's like the sun or whatever, or like heat and stuff. But predator wise, after that, everything changed. I was like, all right, I gotta basically fortify everything. I started zip tying I made some lids out of like some fencing. So I got fencing, laid that on top, and then I also, because the grates between the fencing was a little big that you could fit like I could fit my hand through there if I squeeze hard enough. So I covered it up with some. It's like a nylon, like it looks like fishnet, but it's not. But it's like I use that to cover up for more protection and to kind of block some UV a little bit. Because what I did notice too, that I had a little area that was getting super, super, super hot to the point where the turtles would sit there and dry out, and then I'd notice that they start chipping and stuff at their scales and stuff. It's hard to explain. I don't necessarily know how to explain it, but I covered that up with that netting, and I drilled holes into the tubs, and I zip tied through those holes, through the mesh, through the fence. So they're all really sturdy, and I only have like two little joints that I have uncovered that I can fit my hand through. The good thing is though, I don't have to use my hands a lot in those tubs. So I just have it big enough that I can fit my hand and I can fit my siphon to go in there and start emptying out the water. Um, and then for the tortoises right now are kind of big enough to avoid predation. I have redfoots outside, so I'm not really worried about them. But if I do have babies and stuff like that, that will stay in the porch, screened in porch all the way. I'm not putting that out until I can make some sort of dedicated, protected enclosure for the babies, because I'm not having that happen again. That was a very sad morning.
I'm sure it
But
was. I'm sure it was.
it is a painful learning moment that you don't always think that you need to learn, but we find ourselves in those situations. So, you know, a lot of learning, I will say, keeping stuff outside. So
Yeah. No, it's very interesting. And then what do you do in terms of filtration for those? How many ponds do you have?
I have two. I have two tubs, one for the Diamondback and then the other one for the Three Stripes. Filtration in the future, I would like to put some sort of. I have some canisters that I want to use, but I have to go out there and like hook up some like electrical stuff that I haven't really gone out and done yet. I've just been draining the ponds every week. They have like drain nozzles that I can just unplug and they'll drain out water, and
That's awesome.
then I just siphon stuff out. So it's and the thing is too, because they're in the sun, it I don't always have to worry too much about like stuff growing in there because the sun takes care of a lot of that kind of stuff. I also have a lot of plants in the water as well, so that also takes care of. It doesn't all the way take care of it, but having a lot of live plants in there also helps kind of soak up all that.
All the
I guess poop,
nitrates.
the nitrates
Yeah.
and all that stuff, and then salt. Throw salt in the water to help keep fungus and stuff away. Other than that, I don't
Interesting.
really do anything to the water. I have relatively clean water, so I don't have to worry too much about like treating it and stuff like that. I'm actually not a big fan of treating water. From my experience, everything that I've worked with, um, everything that I've used turtle wise, frogs always treat your water, but like everything that I've used, um, or the turtles that I've kept, I've always noticed that the ones raised with some sort of water conditioner are much more susceptible to skin and shell issues than the ones raised on regular clean tap, or like salted water and stuff like that, because that turtle doesn't get exposed to the different things that you can get in tap water and doesn't build up a solid immune system. So like the first, like, let's say you have a turtle that's raised with conditioner, maybe you don't put in conditioner for the next water change, or something's wrong with the water or something like that. That turtle doesn't have the the immune capacity to fight it off in a way. So it'll get an infection
They're
or
more
something like
sensitive
that.
to it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. But the salt and stuff is something that's more specific to like brackish water stuff. So the only one, the Diamondback, that one's more specific with that. And that's another animal that like, yeah, I use clean water just because Diamondbacks are notorious for getting shell and fungal issues because of how they're just very susceptible to it because of where they live. They're native to brackish habitats, so they need that level of salinity in order to keep themselves in check. Although you don't always have to keep Diamondbacks in brackish water, mostly because at least the Diamondbacks that we have in captivity, they should be captive bred. A big issue with the Diamondbacks is that a lot of them back in the day, at least here in Florida, were wild caught, and those were obviously raised on brackish. So you take them into captivity, they don't live in brackish anymore. They get sick and they die, and then that cycle continues. So and I've also learned my lessons too with fungal problems with the Diamondback. So that's why I'm like, all right, let's put some salt in there. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's see what water qualities work best. And as far as right now, tap water with some salt has been working like a dream. But it'll really depend on like what kind of water you have and like where you're keeping it and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. I have heard of using the salt for in the aquarium hobby. So like
Yeah.
depending on the species of fish or for certain reasons you add like aquarium salt or whatever it's called
Hmm.
to aquarium. I've never heard of it with turtles before. That's very interesting. Do you
Yeah.
also end up just adding salt to the three striped mud turtles as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because there was also a point where I kept all the turtles together. So at a time, I had the three stripes, I had my diamondback, and I had two side necks. I had a pink belly and a Maclay river turtle, which is it's like a pink belly just without the pink. I had all those turtles in one tank just because I was in the middle of moving. It's like, all right, you guys are gonna have to room together for a little bit, figure it out until we can get you guys your tubs. So they lived together for like 2 months. I kept them all together, and at that point, everybody got the Diamondback treatment, and everybody did fine. So because it was all it basically is, it's like an extra boost to fight fungus. So it worked like a dream. I've never had any issues giving turtles salt. Obviously, not don't give them too much, but you want to play around with that like just below brackish level for it to work out. I don't remember off the top of my head like the percentage or the measurement for it. I've always eyeballed it because I don't deal with a lot of water, so I can more or less kind of see what I'm trying to use, and it's worked really good for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's the
Yeah.
other species of turtle you mentioned? Something Japanese something?
Oh yeah, my pond turtle, my Japanese pond turtle. So he's a cool little guy.
Yeah, tell me
First of
about
all,
those.
yeah, Japanese pond turtles are one of only two native turtles to Japan. So Japan has the they have their own black-breasted leaf turtle, which is really cool. Um, they have the Japanese pond turtle, and they also have the Reeves, but the Reeves turtle is introduced. It's non-native. It's from China, but it's
Okay.
gotten to the point that they have their own strain, like they turn all black. Yoshi has a whole uh, breeding group of them. They're really cool. They're interesting turtles. But the Japanese pond turtle, I think, is an interesting case because it acts like a box turtle in the form of an aquatic turtle, and they have a really nice long tail. They look very classical, like an old classical turtle painting. That's exactly what they look like. And their shell is very interesting to me. A lot of the people that I used to work with and stuff, and like even like old customers and stuff, they would always say it looks ugly, but to me, like it looks like a river stone. It looks really cool, and then you turn it around, and their plastron is jet black, jet black completely. And again, they have that really long tail, and they have really long legs too, which I think is really interesting. But the best part about them is the personality. Like I'm looking at him right now, he is doing all sorts of stuff. Super
Oh,
fun
so you
turtle to
have
keep.
that one inside.
Yeah, he's little. I haven't really put him outside, mostly because the setups that I have right now, I don't think they really work out for him. I'd want to give him his own dedicated space just because I think he'd beat everybody up. But
That's awesome.
he's a very active, very friendly turtle. Like I've done a lot of stuff with him where I take him out and like I have him like he does like the cliche thing where like the turtle follows you for food and stuff like that. He used to I used to live with some larger dogs. He'd square up to the dogs every time I take him out to like walk around and stuff, and like he'd
That's hilarious.
basically like he'd nip at their legs and stuff, and like it was cool. He's a really fun guy, but they have great personality. And another really good perk for them is that because of where they live in Japan, they inhabit pretty much most of the entire island, so they get all seasons. So this is another species you can keep out here year round. They do just fine in our Florida winters. Um, they're just a very interesting species to me. They're very common in Japan. When I first got him, I was looking up all sorts of stuff for them, and I'd always see like some really they in Japan they have very interesting like setups. A lot of it's like it looks almost like custom made, but they're like very big plastic setups with like astroturf and stuff like that. And the colors they get out of these that are natural is crazy. You can get some dark green stuff. You can get mine is more bronze, but I've seen some that looks like a golden turtle statue that has like some algae growing on it. That's like a natural coloration for their shell, which is really interesting. Um,
How big
but
do
yeah,
they
they're
get?
not too big. So mine, he's a boy, and I'm pretty sure he's almost done growing. They're very variable with the males, at least. They don't get much bigger than probably like 4 inches. Females can get much bigger.
That's
Females could
awesome.
probably, I've online, I've seen some that are like maybe like 10 inches. So you end up with a male, you're looking at a small turtle. If you get a female, nothing too big, something that's going to definitely be less than a foot. So another big reason why I thought about getting one. It was actually a gift from my old boss at the reptile shop. So shout out to him. He gave that to me as a little birthday present, and he's going strong. Also very hardy. This is the only turtle I've had that I've never had any health issues with. So like not even minor stuff, like no, like nothing. Perfect. So I'm very grateful for that because man, I've had some health scares with my turtles over the last year. It was
Yeah.
crazy. That whole when I switched everything to outside, it was fun.
If you
Everybody,
if you're comfortable with it, I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. I didn't think the turtles were so sensitive or so prone to
well,
have issues.
no, I don't have any problem talking about it just because I feel like if I get the information out there, somebody who could have made the same mistakes I did won't. So, um, I kept everything inside forever, and then I moved over here I moved in with my dad, and he's got some outside space, and he let me do some stuff outside. It's like, oh, crazy! I'll go put stuff outside. Um, I when it comes to placement of where you're putting your outdoor enclosures, it's very specific. You can't just throw things outside, right? My backyard doesn't get much sun, which really sucks because, like, oh, I'd assume it's Florida. You're always burning in the sun. But no, I have two really nice big oak trees that block most of the sun. And I only have one corner of the house that actually gets some sun. Um, and basically, the biggest problem that I think was happening is that they just weren't getting enough sun because I also did introduce them outside a little, like, I don't even remember what, I think it was like right at the end of winter.
Keep going. I'm
So
listening.
it wasn't too hot just yet. So we still had some cold nights. So I guess they just had issues kind of getting used to being outside because I'm only guessing just that they just didn't have as much access to sun as they do now because now I move into a different spot. It also gets a lot more sun. The branches aren't there anymore and stuff like that. So definitely watching where you're putting your enclosures. And this goes for any animal that needs a specific type of like light, I wouldn't put a snake at the same spot that I'm putting my turtles at because snakes would require a little more shaded areas because the turtles will have that water to cool off. I wouldn't put my iguana in the same spot that I have the tortoises in because again, you don't want to overcook your animal. You want to have that perfect kind of like you want to follow the sun. And basically I follow the sun around my house. It curls over the house. So I put my stuff in a specific spot where in the morning they'll get 5 hours of sun. And as the day goes by, they're in shade for the rest of the day. And that cycle continues. So it's a lot of playing around with that. Um, that was probably like the biggest thing that I think had to do with all the turtle issues I had. And the turtle issues that I had was just fungus. I was having a really bad fungal situation. And then in the midst of me treating the fungus, I started picking up respiratory problems. So as I was drying out for the fungus, they started picking up respiratory because I wasn't paying it as much attention to how long I was dry docking and stuff like that. So that created like a battle on two fronts. I spent a lot of money on antibiotics, which did work, but it is an ongoing battle with some of the three stripes. The babies are fine, but the breeding group, I keep close eyes on them, which is another reason why I haven't really introduced any other turtles with them, just because I want to make sure that they're separated by themselves, so I'm not spreading anything. Um, but other than that, everything has been mostly treatable. It's just a lot of vet visits, just because you know I am aware of specific things that I could do to like solve problems, but at the same time, I don't have the expertise, and I'd rather do something safe that I know will work a little bit better.
For sure.
Um, so it is a lot more expensive. It is very expensive, but hey, I love my turtles. So
I love my
Uh,
turtles. Yeah, no, that's awesome.
they're
You
worth
mentioned
it.
antibiotics. Was that for the respiratory
Yeah,
problems?
yeah, the
Okay,
respiratory, and that's just like syringes. That was a pain in the ass to do. Oh my god, it was. Now I know how to do it. So I was like, okay, if I ever have to do this again, I can do it.
easy.
But that was
Right.
a mission with the muds because they put their heads all the way in. They're the only other turtle with a hinge, so they can put their
Right.
heads all the way in. So I sat there for almost like 2 hours one night trying to get them antibiotics. It was three turtles I had to inject in at the same time. So it was very fun, sleepless, but fun because now I have I have my little tricks up my belt that I can use if I ever have to do it again.
There
But
you go. Yeah, and then for the fungus, was it you mentioned dry docking? Was it dry docking and silver sulfate or
so I didn't use any of the silver sulfate stuff. What I did, I would so I'd make a quarantine tub. First of all, I would put them inside. I would put them inside under a big UV strip with small heat bulbs, so they're not getting too much heat, but they're getting enough to dry off and get heat because a big part of killing the fungus is heat.
right?
Um, so I'd set them up in those bins. I would, when they're dry docking, I would coat them in like the areas with betadine. So I'd get
Okay,
like a swab and I'd basically scrub with betadine. If there was areas that the fungus would actually like come off, I would scrub that a little bit. I wouldn't force it off because it is attached to the skin, but eventually over time it starts flaking off. And I leave them dry docking for at least like 3 or 4 hours. What ended up happening because of my job and I wasn't able to go home and like, work with stuff. It ended up being like a full day of dry docking and then a full day of water. So I would flip flop with that.
right.
And actually, that ended up giving me better results for the more severe case that I had with my diamondback. She had it really bad that I thought she was gonna, because she started swelling up and stuff, and I thought thought she was gonna die. Just because I didn't know what was happening internally. But leaving her out to dry dock a little longer actually helped a lot. But not every animal is the same, and you have to again, it's all about it. It's very case by case with reptiles. So not every animal is going to react the same way. So I use my diamondback strategies with three stripes that didn't go as planned. And that's where the respiratory came into effect.
Right.
But to treat respiratory, it is kind of similar. You do want to have some sort of separation with um, like too much water and heat and stuff like that. But um, that's what I did. I had them in their little plastic tubs that I'd scrub out every single time. I switched them onto the like so. What I going back, I had two tubs, one for the dry docking, one for water, and I'd always scrub them at like intermittently every time I'd switch them out. So
Right.
a lot of trying to keep things as sterile as possible because the funguses don't always go away with like soap and water and whatever you're using. So that is a very that was the most tedious part, scrubbing everything.
Yeah.
Oh, and the one thing that the vet also told me to use is antifungal wipes for dogs. There's an antifungal wipe that you use to like wipe the paws of dogs that get fungal infections. That also works really great for turtle shells as well from my vet, and it works great. I've used it many times with the fungal problems I've had, and I've never had an issue with it. Things went away pretty quickly, comparatively speaking, because fungal problems go away with time. It's not something that happens in a few weeks. It can take a few months. So,
Yeah.
but that was my regimen for treating them.
Fascinating. Very, very cool.
It was so long, but I'm glad it's good now.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it took. I'm sure it wasn't an easy journey, but yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Now you know what to do, which is awesome. Do you ever?
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever see yourself moving the Japanese pond turtle outside once it get bigger?
I'd like to. I'd like to give him some sort of like. See, the thing is, I want to give him something different than what I have the other turtles in
Okay.
because of how terrestrial he is. He spends a lot of
Right.
time running around crawling. So I want to try to do something like similar to how you'd keep like a box turtle outside, like a tortoise table almost.
Right.
But I'd probably set something up like in the porch or something, just because he is pretty small. But I also want to be able to see him while he's doing stuff in the water. So I'd probably play around like plexiglass or something and put something
Yeah.
on the bottom so I can see what he's up to. Because seeing him underwater is half the fun because he's like flipping his rocks and he's doing all sorts of crazy stuff in there. Like when he was a little tiny hatchling, I had him in, his setup was awesome when he was little. Like I had a bunch of sand, like rocks. It looked like a little stream in like a Japanese restaurant. It was awesome.
That's
Um, and like he would swim around, and I had some fish with him at the time, and he'd hang out with the fish. He'd never try to eat the fish. He'd just follow them around and like look at them. And he'd dig his own little holes under the wood and stuff like that. And I also had a land area for him when he was little. It was just like a bin of dirt, and he'd dig around in it, hang out. He's also climbed all the way up to the top to the almost to the lid
awesome.
before, because he used to have like some branches that would go upwards. He used every bit of that enclosure, so I definitely want to give him something with a lot of stuff to do, just because I know for a fact he will use every bit of it.
Right.
As of right now, his setup is a little more simple because after I moved up here, I had to simplify the setups just for the ease of maintenance because it's upstairs. I don't have a like I don't have like a hose and stuff that I could like use to like wash stuff out. So it's like plain bottom right now. I don't
Right.
have stuff that I used to have to clean out and sift out the sand either. My old siphon for that broke. So his setup's a little basic for now. But I would like to definitely give him something like what he used to have when he was little, because it's fun to watch him do stuff. And at the time too, I had him all in my bedroom. So I'd wake up in the morning and I'd see what every single animal was up to. It was really fun to do. So
Yeah, that's cool. And you said he's a male. Do you ever think you'll get a female and try to breed him?
not him. Something I've learned is that if you love the animal, like as like a pet, I wouldn't breed it, because my initial turtle, my one of my female three stripes was like it fulfilled the same niche as my Japanese pawn, and I decided to breed her, and things kind of completely changed. You know, her demeanor
Right.
changed. I had to worry about her health because she was pumping out eggs all the time. The male would not leave her alone, so I had to always pull her out, or rather pull the male out, let her chill out and stuff. Like it becomes a little more worrisome because now the animal is not in 100% peak condition, because once you're breeding an animal, it's going through the entirety of its life cycles. So you're not going to get that perfect build of an animal anymore. You know, you're going to open a lot more issues to health problems. Like it could get egg bound, it could have difficulty breeding, it could, get attacked by the other turtles in there. So
Yeah.
I don't think I'd do anything with the pond turtle. Also, just because I already bred some animals just to get a taste of what it's like. It's not something that I'm a big fan of. I'm more
Yeah.
so someone who likes to do it like casually for fun, which is why I still breed the three stripes, but that's the only thing I really want to breed. I'll dabble with the carpets when they're of age or something like that. But even then, it's like thinking about how much it's going to cost to feed, thinking about how much it's going to cost to house all these animals, because they're not all going to sell immediately. So, you
Right.
know, I remember because my day geckos, they also produce some babies. That was like my big, like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. Having to wrangle, it was only 4 geckos too, which is why I'm like, dude, I'm really not cut out for it, because I had to
Yoshi,
sit there
sell my day
and
geckos.
literally, it was, oh my God. I'm so glad that they went home to whoever bought them. Thank you. Because like having to wrangle them and like getting them little cups and stuff. Luckily, because they eat what they do, like they eat like the Pangea and stuff like that. Like it wasn't too bad to feed them.
Right.
Um, but like having a bunch of babies and stuff like that, it was like, nah, I don't want to do this as much as I thought I would. It's just easier with turtles because I have them outside and they can all live together, and I can throw food and they'll all eat. But it's different with snakes and lizards and stuff. But as far as the Japanese pond, I'm probably just gonna keep them as a pet. As far as turtle breeding goes, anyway, there's not a high demand, and it took me a very long time to sell the turtles that I did sell. So I don't think I'd breed him. I like having him as just like a nice little pet. He's one of the only animals that I have. Like I'd say him and my fat tail are like two animals that I have out of like pure like pet sentimental value. Like nothing
Yeah.
else. They're
Yeah.
fun. They also eat everything too. That's something else. They eat just like a box turtle. Greens, meats, bugs, everything. I feed him all sorts of stuff, and it's super fun to see him eat. But yeah, Japanese pond turtles, Moremies japonica. Cool.
Yeah, I like it. It's also funny that you said, "Oh yeah, there's not much demand for like it's so funny the differences in like your prices are lower, but your demand is lower. Our prices are
Exactly.
higher,
Yeah.
but demand is much higher. But yeah, that's interesting. And everything you just said, by the way, is completely valid. I think it's fun. I'm guilty of this as well. It's like everything that comes in here, I'm like, all right, well, I have this snake or this lizard, whatever. I might as well get a pair and breed them. But sometimes you lose the joy of actually just the animal and the reason
Hmm.
you got it by making it a project. But
Yeah. And especially
yeah,
now that I started having a much more time intensive job, it's like I really don't have as much time to even worry about having a breeding project or anything like that either. So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I
it's
want to
a
get into that
very,
job, and we're already at 55. So maybe quickly
for
tell me
sure.
about
Yeah.
the carpet pythons because
Yeah.
we can't not talk about the carpet pythons, and then we'll jump
Yeah.
into
So
the job. Yeah,
I fell in love with carpets about 2 years ago at my old job at the reptile shop. I picked up just a normal jungle female. She's been awesome snake to have, and I've been raising her for the last 2.5 years. And then I was like, oh, I was talking with Yoshi and stuff. I just started getting hyped about carpets, and I started hyping him up about the Brettles. He got
yeah,
Brettles. I started
yeah,
seeing more carpets and more Morelia stuff. I'm like, all right, I want to do this too. So I got an exanthic that is het albino, and that will be able to create like a snow, so like an exanthic albino snake. Um, I got the male for that, which is just a normal coastal that has the het for exanthic and the het for albino. So they would hopefully create some sort of snow thing. So that's project number one. And then project number two is like jungle gamma stuff. So the male that I got from my normal jungle is a gamma zebra. He's a very
okay,
pretty snake, but he is one of the worst snakes I've ever had. He is an asshole, which sucks because it's like I'm always trying to convince people that carpets aren't assholes, but it's like he's the one that I'm like, yeah, nah, whatever. But he's cool. He's a very pretty snake, and I still try my best to like see if he'll tame down and stuff. But they'll have their own personalities.
yeah,
He will calm down eventually. He has calmed down since I've got him, but he's like he's always trying to kill me every time I have to go in there and give him water and stuff. But he's a very pretty snake. He's like fluorescent yellow with like those zebra stripes. It's really nice. And that's why I
yeah.
like the
Send me a
carpet
picture
so
of that
much. It's
first.
like it's like a perfect mix of like it because for me I don't have the biggest eye for morphs. Um, I like seeing some sort of like natural look to the animal, and I think with most carpet python morphs, you get that natural look because a normal carpet as it is already looks insane for a wild looking snake. So like an exanthic carpet looks really cool. Even the albinos, like they have, I don't know, they just do it more for me. I've seen a lot of like
Yeah,
leopard gecko morphs and like the ball python morphs, and it's like
is
it
this the one you're talking
loses.
about?
Yes, that guy. Yeah, hell yeah, that's him. That's him when he
That's
was little.
awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, he's cool. He's a gamma zebra. So gamma is a oh my god, why am I forgetting what gamma is? It's
Yeah, I was gonna say
jungle
I
mixed
haven't heard.
with it's diamond jungle
Okay,
jaguar, and
very
that
cool.
creates gamma. And then you mix that with more jungle stuff. I just like yellow. Yellow is one of my favorite colors. So it's like, okay, perfect. These snakes have yellow and they look awesome doing it, and they're not albino. Perfect.
Yeah,
So because albino is cool, but some of the time they look kind of weird to me. And now that I've done a lot more research and stuff, and like my opinions have changed about breeding and stuff, like albino snakes they can't really see too good. It's like, oh, I don't know if I'd want to like you know bring that kind of stuff to the table and stuff like that. But I have definitely there are still like plans in my heart to do something with the carpets. I just don't know exactly it'll be because I do have the pairs, but I'm like
yeah. How
a lot of
far out
snake.
are you from like thinking of pairing?
Perfect scenario, probably like another 2 years, just
Okay,
because I have to wait for the males to grow up. The males are just under a year right now. The females are both 2, so by the time the males are ready, the females will be perfect. Because the last thing I want to do is breed the females early.
right.
I want to wait until they're at least like 3.5, 4 years old before I do that. So the males will be just like once they start getting ready, the females will probably be ready as well. Um, but my biggest like thing right now with the carpets is just trying to get them bigger enclosures. I have the females in 4x2s right now, and they're not huge. They're a good size for what they're in. But they're going to get bigger. They're going to get 6 foot plus. So I want to try to get them those 4x2x4s that Dubia makes, those like big, tall enclosures. and then put
Yeah,
the
yeah,
males in the 4x2s. So that's currently my biggest, like that's the main goal right now. Get those big enclosures first, because that's a lot of money. And so I want to get that out of the way first. And by the time I'm done with that, I'll just slowly kind of like get them all ready for their forever enclosures, because I'd want them to be established where they live before they get ready to breed. I don't want them
yeah,
just popping into a new enclosure like, oh, what's going on here? So
yeah.
that's what I got going
We're
on.
yeah, it's awesome. We're kind of on the same page, but I'm on the opposite side of it. So my male is ready. My male is
Ooh.
4, almost 5 years old, but my females are still young. So
Oh
I'm
man, what
waiting
kind of
on the
carpets you
females to
got?
grow. So I got my male is a jungle,
Mm,
like
sick.
supposedly a pure jungle, and then I have a female that's also like the guy said pure jungle. I don't think she is. I think maybe like an IJ mix.
Mm,
And then I have uh, so I have a male and three females. But
gotcha.
the second female is the other two are super young. So I have one that's I think like maybe a jungle coastal mix, but she has like that high like a hypo. Um, she looks like it. She was sold to me as a hypo jungle carpet python. I think
Got
she
you.
does
So
have
that
hypo in her, but I don't think she's a proper.
that has to be a mix. That has to
Exactly.
be a
Like I
mix,
don't
because
think. Yeah,
most traits come from coastals.
coastals, right?
So if
And
there's
then
any
I
sort
do
of
have
trait, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, that's and it's funny because people don't like divulge this information up front. You kind of have to like realize it
exactly.
as you go.
Because
But yes, exactly. Yeah.
I wanted to keep a lot of like, so at first when I got into the carpets, I was like, oh, I want to breed like localities, so I could be like breeder stock for people wanting to do stuff. But it's like, one, the locality stuff, there's people who already do it, and trying to get lineages and stuff like that. It's possible. It's just, I don't want to put myself through that stress of selling someone what I'm trying to call a purebred animal and having something happen. And then I have, I don't want to give somebody false information on it.
Yeah.
Um, but which is where the morphs come in. Just because, well, the morphs are still pretty. Because one of my favorite carpets, for some reason, I really like the inlet carpets. I
Yeah.
haven't seen them in person, but I've seen many pictures of them. Woo, they're really cool. But
Yeah.
but I
I
have
haven't
noticed
seen
that
it.
there's a lot of, what's the word, controversy when it comes to like what's pure and what's not.
Yes.
Um, Something I've noticed is that coastal stuff has a different head structure, um, because coastals have a longer face from what I've seen.
Or
They have
triangular or bulldoggy, right?
like long ways or short ways.
Just bulkier, bigger, I think.
Yeah.
No?
So, well, I was going to say the opposite. What I've noticed with like jungles and popwins, they have a shorter face. They have more of that bulldog. But granted, that could also be because of size. But from what I've noticed, like almost every coastal that I've seen and worked with, they have a longer head. Their lips are a little bit more like just chunky or different. But
Okay.
that could just be the snakes that I've seen personally. Because my jungle has a different head structure than the coastal I have, and even the gamma, he has a little bit of a different head structure than my jungle too, because he has that diamond and coastal in there. So
Yeah.
I've noticed those little things here and there. It's interesting,
Yeah.
but again, there's going to be variation within every single animal. So I don't know how much of like a telltale sign it is, but that's just something I've noticed.
Yeah, well, like you said, anyway, as well, anything that has like a morph or a color pattern or whatever is most probably
Hmm.
mixed with the coastal. The diamond mix is cool, man. I would like to work with diamonds at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
I
When
don't
Yoshi
really
got
know what
his, I
they're
was like,
here, but
damn, that's really sick. They're
yeah,
cool. They're
they're a
really
very
cool.
cool species.
They're interesting too in the wild. They're the southernmost constrictor. Like they're the southernmost python in the world. They live in almost snow. It's so cool to me. It's so
They
cool to think
live in
about.
almost snow.
Yes, they live down there in Australia, where I don't know if the places they live get snow, but I know that they get very cool. They get very cool. They're temperate. They're temperate, just like rat snakes and stuff up here.
Interesting.
So very
And that's
interesting
just the
species.
diamonds.
Just diamonds, yeah. And I think here's my biggest pet peeve too with diamonds and carpets. So carpet, or the scientific name for the carpet python is
Morelia spilota.
Morelia spilota. The diamond is Morelia spilota spilota, whereas everything else is, Harrisoni, McDowell, everything else is different. I'm wondering because Bredl's pythons used to be considered carpets as well.
Yeah.
I'm confused. I don't know why this hasn't happened, but I feel like there should be enough. And I'm not a scientist. I don't know taxonomy like that. I am just a enthused keeper. But I'm like,
Right.
why haven't we separated diamonds into their own species yet? That's
I
my
have
biggest question.
seen, I mean, just confirm this, but I think I have seen that um, jungles are now being called, what is it, Morelia spilota shainai?
Yeah,
I don't know how it's pronounced, but it's still, I guess, technically you're right. It's still a Morelia spilota, and that one's still a Morelia spilota. And then, yeah, I don't know. I
because
assume
like
it's coming soon,
I would hope so. It would just be more
where they'll split
satisfying
it up.
to me. Like just
Yeah,
reading
yeah,
scientific names. It's like you'd expect Morelia spilota to be like the coastal, like the carpet python, but no, it's the diamond. It's the
right.
weirdest one of the bunch. So it's like, oh, okay. But I don't know. That's just like the science part of it that I'm like, why is it like that? Why is it like that? But
That is
that's just
interesting,
that's
right?
taxonomy. That's taxonomy for you. But
Our
carpets are
favorite
sick.
topic.
They are my probably like top three favorite snakes ever. At least that I've worked with. Because I only like to give myself favorites from stuff that I've worked with. Because
Right.
I feel like if I work with like venomous or something like that, I'm sure like some sort of venomous snake would top the chart. But as far as right now, carpets are up there. The whole genus of Morelia, honestly, is up there. I love carpets, love green trees.
Yeah.
Um, they're awesome. They're
That's
really
kind of the
sick.
guy I'm moving towards right now as well. Well, I've
Yeah,
been keeping carpets for 4 or 5 years now, but
sick.
I just got Morelia. Like I got green tree pythons, and I'm kind of diving into that world now. They're so cool, man. They're just
Hell yeah.
it's cool to walk into a room and just see a snake curled up on a branch as opposed
Yes,
to under a
yes.
hide.
And that's what I love about the carpets because they do that too. I'm like, yes,
Yes, yeah,
yes,
it's
so
awesome.
cool.
It's awesome.
They
Yeah,
actually do stuff and they're like a corn snake almost. You can see them doing all sorts of stuff. Very curious. They look at you, they're
yeah.
cool. I fell in love with
Actually,
them.
it's funny that you bring up corn snake because I never really thought I would be keeping or enjoy having them, but I ended up with a baby corn snake, and
Yeah.
it's one of the most. Yeah, because that's why when I went out with Chucky, he's like, "Oh, it's just a corn snake," and I'm like, "Wait, I need to see this." But it's by far one of the most interesting snakes
Yeah.
in.
They're definitely sleepers, I'll say.
Yeah, like you expect, oh, they're so common, everyone has them, and but when you really like have one, dude, I walk into the room, it comes out of the hide, looks up like
Yeah.
I'm about to get fed, and it's always on the move. It climbs up, it go like it's a very cool, very active snake, which is cool to see.
Yeah. It's
Um,
it's an animal. It's like they're popular for a reason. They fulfill
right.
like if I had to choose a singular reptile to recommend to somebody as a pet, it would be like a corn snake because they do it all.
Yeah,
They got tons of personality, crazy, like easy to keep,
yeah,
not too big, not too small, super awesome. But
I
for me,
think
it's the
it
behavior.
kind of
Love it.
it's the behavior is super interesting, but I think
Yeah.
as a perfect pet, I think they still kind of fall a little bit short in terms of like I mean, ball pythons, you can kind of just sit on the couch with them, right? I don't think you can do that with a
Yeah.
corn snake. I think you constantly have to like be chasing it
True.
down. It doesn't just sit
True.
there.
True. True.
Yeah,
It
unless it's
really.
like
I guess it also does depend on like what people want out of the pet. That is another good point.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Everyone should just get carpet pythons. Reality, that's just
I
they're the
used
best
to
pet.
think like that. I used to think like that. I'm like, oh no, it's gonna bite them and they're gonna get mad and they're gonna bring it back to the shop. And they did. I'm like, oh shoot, I was right.
You were right.
But no,
Yeah,
the thing is too, I will never shy away from like still trying to get someone to get a carpet python because like usually the biggest competition is the ball python, right? And I feel like again, it comes down to what you want out of the pet. But it's like, do you want to experience how a snake behaves? Because as much as we can like ball pythons, they don't necessarily act like a normal snake would. And that's where I think that carpets get like a bad rap of being assholes, because when they're babies, they're shooting at you every direction, right? But it's like that's kind of how a normal snake acts when it's little. And you get a
Right.
better grasp on how a snake acts. First of all, you get more comfortable getting bit, which is like the thing that keeps people from getting snakes. If it's not feeding rats, it's that. So you get a snake that's gonna kind of get you through the motions, get you comfortable working with an animal that's not going to be nice all the time. So you're not going to get caught off guard if something tries to bite you. But more importantly, you get a full array of behaviors that you don't always get with a ball python. You're going to see that animal basking. You're going to see that animal climbing. Not that ball pythons don't do that, but people don't always allow ball pythons to do it. But in
Right.
general, ball pythons are more reserved in nature, is what I'm trying to say. Whereas a carpet or even like a corn snake, honestly, they're a little more bold. They're going to look at you in the face. They're going to square up with you. They're going to perceive you. And you get to read that animal's behavior. You can become confident keeping yourself, because you'll be able to basically go in there and read that animal's behavior because it's showing you stuff to learn from. So it's
That's
just
actually,
you get a complete view of how a snake acts with a carpet python, in my opinion. So if that's
yeah.
what you want out of your pet snake, you get that. But if you just want something to chill with, that's where the ball python comes into play and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah. That's I've never thought of it that way. That's a very good point. It's almost like it's you can almost say, and like I'm just generalizing based off what you said, but like you can almost say that having a ball python almost prepares you less for keeping other snakes, because you get so
yeah,
comfortable with reaching in and grabbing it
yeah,
that you don't really pick up on snake behavior. And then when you kind of do move to a more active species, or more likely to be a little feisty species, you don't know those signs, whereas with something else
exactly.
you pick up on those. That's a very good point. I never really thought of it. Yeah, you
Yeah, and
become
again, it does
almost
come out.
lazy.
Yes, yes, and again, it does come down to like what people want with reptiles as a hobby. Like, I know tons of people who are completely fine not divulging from ball pythons, but if someone's wanting to explore with reptiles and like see what they like and experience different species, I've known of and seen a lot of people that are discouraged because of how other snakes act, because they're used to ball pythons and they're used to that animal that being they have like that safe feature of balling up or something like that. And I always try to get people more like, just don't shy away from getting bit and stuff like that. Like, it's really not a big deal. Um, Granted, if you're getting bit by a huge boa, that sucks. But like, at the same time, the people that have these fears and stuff like that, they're not starting with an adult snake. And I think it
Right.
is also super important to have some diversity in the hobby. It's like everybody that's got a ball python, be the one person that has a carpet, or be the one person that has like a king snake or something. You know,
Yeah.
bring something new to the table, like make it fresh, because a big part of the hobby is kind of learning about all these animals, learning about what everybody does with them, how everything lives, so everyone knows more. I think a really big part of the hobby is like gaining information. Like, it's like Pokemon. Like, you want to know about every single one. And the Pokemon mentality is what a lot of people put it out to, which is why it's an easy one to kind of like pull an example to, because it's like everybody wants to experience every single species. Like, all right, experience a different species. If you go to like a reptile show and everyone's a sea of ball pythons, the one table that's got corns or carpets or something like that, that would be the one that I'm going to pay attention to, because it's different.
Diversity.
But no,
Yeah,
diversity.
absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Cool. Okay, Eric, before we
Yeah.
wrap this up, I need to hear a little bit about the job. The very cool
Yeah.
job. So tell us
It's
where you work and what you do where you work.
Yeah, so I work at a zoo. It's the same zoo that our friend Chuck works at, and our good friend Brian. We all work at the same zoo. They work at a separate department. I'm on the safari. So the zoo that we work at has a drive-through safari that has a bunch of hook stock, antelope, buffalo. We have giraffes and stuff like that. So my job there, I'm a zookeeper, but it's not like a general zookeeper job, because it's a big safari. A lot of what I do is very multifaceted. Like, I work with heavy equipment, so I'm working with pallets, like driving like a little bobcat, doing pallet work and like filling in potholes on the road and stuff like that. I'm also doing a lot of like mini police work. Like, a big portion of our job is going out on rounds, making sure the animals are okay and making sure that people are following the rules and stuff. So that's a big portion of the job. Um, a lot of throwing hay. That's like the biggest thing. Throwing big bales of hay, throwing buckets of grain at the feed pads, and it's super fun. One, because it's a completely new thing. Like we're reptile people. We're used to reptiles. I threw myself into hoofstock, something I have no experience in. So it's
Yeah.
very fresh, very fresh. Like I'm learning new things every single day.
How
I
long
get
do
to
you think it's
experience
learn about all the species that you're working with currently?
um less than a month. Less than a month. I already had an idea of the species that we worked with, and like I already like because I did a lot of research beforehand as well. Um, I learned most of the animals pretty quickly. It's more so the like the work tasks that I've been kind of getting more used to as of recent. That's been taking me a little bit better or a little bit longer to get used to because we do a lot of different things. And just memorizing the diets of specific animals because the giraffes feed a different type of hay or a different mixture of hay than let's say the camels do or the elands do or something like that. So just learning all that stuff, something that I didn't think would be something I need to pay more attention to is individual animals. And I picked that up surprisingly quickly because I'm like, how am I gonna it's funny because like I can tell snakes apart like of the same species, but it's like how am I gonna be able to tell apart this antelope from this antelope? But like actually no, it's
Right.
actually pretty easy now. You know, it's a lot of just repetition, going there every day, looking at the animals, so you get used to that. Um,
That's awesome.
Another really cool thing that I do is we do a lot of animal training, and that's probably like the most fulfilling aspect of the job that I do, just because it's like another level of training. Like I've socialized monitors, I've I've as much as you can train reptiles, you know, you can do that and so much more with the mammals because they
Right.
have there's a more going. I don't want to call it reptiles stupid, but they're more primitive. They're more straightforward with their thinking, whereas a mammal is a little more unpredictable. There's a lot more free, like there's a lot more. It's just more complex brain to work with. So
Right.
training the giraffes and stuff, training the antelope has been a blast because it's like I'm surprised at how smart they are because it's just not an animal you think about training all the time. But here we are, target training on an antelope. It's a bongo, super cool. He's very beautiful, very smart guy. So we're here target training a bongo, teaching it to do little like we'll teach him to do like touches with his nose and like he'll wrap his tongue around her finger and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of training that I didn't realize goes into the keeping of large animals. Cause like, think about it. If a vet needs to go in and take a blood sample from a giraffe, how is he going to do that unless that giraffe is trained specifically to go up to his barn and rest his head onto the platform for that vet to go in there and do his job? Like that's a lot of stuff that I didn't think that goes into training these animals. And that's the stuff that I'm working with every single day now. And now that I'm actually I've been there for about 3 months now. So now that I have my like probationary period done, I'm now starting to get involved more in the actual training aspect of it. And that's the part that I'm learning now. And it's like, it's awesome. I'm very, very blessed to be able to have the opportunity that I have there. Honestly, with all the jobs I've had, very, very lucky to have been the places I've been to because every step, every job that I've been through has given me a lot of skills that lead me up to the next one that I wouldn't trade for anything. So it's going really good. It's a lot of hard work. I'm there all day, 7 a.m. to 5, 6 o'clock sometimes out in the sun. It gets very draining, but I'll do it until I can't. So, let's see. You never know what happens in the future, but it's cool. It's tiring, and I'm getting fit. I lost a lot of weight doing it, and I've got some
Yeah.
little muscles growing.
I
So
bet.
it's cool.
That's
A cool
awesome. And
job.
just, I mean, just being able to say, yeah, I trained the giraffe is
Yeah, it's
like
it's
what a
so like
statement.
you know it's a blessing. It's a blessing because I know a lot of people that like I used to go to like the college around here, UCF. They have a herp club, and I would go to some of their meetings, and I talk to some of the people who go there, and they're all like, these are I'm working the job that they're trying to work up to. So it's like, oh shoot, like
Right.
the things that they're doing versus the things that I've done to get to where I am are completely different. And I think it's very important that we kind of exchange that like information and stuff like that. Because like in my experience, it's all hands on. I've been very lucky to have started where I am and get the connections I get and have the hands on experience that I have to get to where I'm at versus the other side of things that may not always have those opportunities. So schooling tends to be the option they go for, and it ends up working out, because you kind of have to have both to get to those higher level of zookeeping and stuff like that, because it goes hand in hand. So it's a very, I'm very fortunate to be where I am. Never complained about it. I will never complain about it. Honestly, will never complain about having to wake up at 5 in the morning to go to work. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
cool to hear. Yeah. And when we took Chucky took me around the safari part a bit, he mentioned like that the zebras were actually like probably the most dangerous animal there. Is that true?
I'd say up close, I'd definitely say so. Another big runner up is the male elk. But in general, zebra are very aggressive in nature. They're very, very. They're like Spartans. They like the moment there's some sort of weakness, that animal is out of the herd. Um, for example, if like there's a younger male that just got through zebra puberty, that father will literally try to kill it within an instant, and they will never hesitate to accidentally trample each other if they're in a stampede. They're just very flighty animals, very defensive, and they also have canines. They have really big ones compared to other equines, which is very scary. Very scary.
Yeah. Do you
But
have to take
yeah,
any
it's.
special precautions when you're working with them or around them?
I mean, yeah, for most of the animals, we have, like, for example, whenever we're out on the safari itself, we try not to leave the cart or the truck that we're in. We try not to go too far out from where our truck is because the truck is our kind of form of safety. If an animal decides to trample or stampede towards us, we have to run to the truck, basically. There's no way out of it. So there's that. Most of the animals don't really let us get too close to them.
Okay.
Um,
They'll move away.
they'll usually run away, except for the males. The males will hold their ground and stand up. I remember I had a scenario where one of our male antelope, we have some water buck out there, and the male water buck was driving away some of the younger individuals from its herd, and it had gotten one of the younger antelope stuck in a specific area, and we were trying to get it out. And that antelope, the male, looked me in the eye, and like you could see, this is the scary part about working with mammals, because like you can see
You
the
can read
thought
their
process
eyes.
go through their head. It is an insane experience. I'm sure it's the same working with like dangerous reptiles and stuff, but it's like the fence that I had to climb over was like a 4 or 5 foot fence, right? I'm able to get over it. Takes me a second, but this animal I know can easily jump over that, no problem. And I see him looking down. I see him looking to the side. I see him kind of get his legs ready to jump. And at that point, I'm like, if he jumps this fence, what am I going to do? What can I do? He's got 4 foot, not 4 foot. They're more like 3 foot. They're long. He's got really, really long horns that he can easily carve out some little pumpkin carvings on my chest. So it's like, I don't want to have to deal with that. It's one thing, you know, being in the truck or being with some distance, but now you're in it. It's definitely an adrenaline rush, and that is another part of the job that I really like. That I know is probably not a healthy way to look at it as, but it is. The adrenaline aspect of it is super super fulfilling. But yeah, we do take a lot of precautions with that. So yeah, the zebra are definitely one of the more kind of like hands-off animals. But I'd also say our male elk. He is also very very testy because he's got size advantage because he's way taller and his antlers have so much reach. And he has been known to charge carts and stuff like that because when these animals go into rut, they have two things on their mind: breeding and killing. So if they're not trying to breed with you, they're trying to kill you. So you got to make sure that you're dumping grain or you're dumping hay strategically. So if he's hanging out, or if any of these aggressive animals are hanging out next to a hay shelter, we're going to skip that shelter, throw it at a pad or something like that. So the best way I can describe it is like we're working with heavy machinery. You want to watch where you step. You want to pay attention to where your hands are. You want to pay attention to where your team is. And we have to constantly have each other's backs. Like very rarely will we go out there by ourselves. Just because the dangers are there. Yes, the animals are far away. Yes, the animals stay to themselves. but anything could happen, and you won't hear it coming either because it's grass. You can't hear that buffalo coming after you until it's 5 feet away from you. So everyone's watching each other's backs. Everyone's watching where they step. We're calling out to each other if we're seeing something. If we're cleaning water troughs, we have somebody scrubbing. We have somebody watching, and that person's always communicating, "Hey, this animal's coming this way. Just keep an eye out." There's a lot of precautions we take for sure, but it's all part of it. It's fun. Hello. I don't know
Sorry,
if
I
I
was
can hear you.
I didn't. Yeah,
Oh, my bad. My bad. My bad. I was like, oh, I can't tell.
no, my bad. I didn't even realize myself. I was just talking, but
Because your
uh,
name is covering your face, so I can't tell if you're talking or not on my screen.
okay, right. Okay. Yeah. No, I was muted. Dude, that's awesome. It's super cool to get to experience all these different types of animals and
Yeah,
the different behaviors and all of them. And I know this is like technically a reptile podcast, but people in the comments, let me know if you want to do like a what would you call them? Hoofstock? Is that the correct term for
yeah.
all the animals there? Yeah.
For like
Like
antelope,
what?
deer, stuff like
But
that.
you
Hook
guys have
stock.
emus and ostriches too.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the ostriches are my favorite animal to work with.
Okay,
There,
yeah.
like
Tell
when it
me a
comes
little
to
bit about
like
them, and then
when
we'll
it
wrap it
comes to
up.
like hands-on working, it's the ostriches. They're so cool. Oh my god. So we have our ostrich pad. They have their own enclosure, whereas rest of the animals they have like their own like fences and stuff. But the ostriches have their own enclosure with some camels that we have. So when we go into there, we have the platform that we go up to put their hay and stuff in for the camels, and the ostriches are just there, kind of like doing their thing. They're kind of like jellyfish. They're like droning around, just like drifting around. They're just really cool because like you can get right up to them. Thankfully, ours are pretty friendly, so we can get
Okay.
right next to them. We can pet them, we can feed them and stuff like that, and like just like their legs already are insane because their legs, I mean, their feet. First of all, it's one toe that's like the size of like a football, and it has like a huge dinosaur claw at the end of it. So it's like you look down, you see this dinosaur, and then you look up. You have to look up a whole like all the way up because this animal is like 6.5 feet tall. I'm not huge. I'm 5'8", but like this animal is like towering over me, and like it's surreal because it's like this is the biggest bird in the world, and just thinking about how there used to be birds bigger than that is insane to me.
Crazy.
Um, but I don't like getting pecked by them. It's very strange. It doesn't hurt
Have
per
you?
se. It's like it's like getting pinched by moist sandpaper. It's a very uncomfortable feeling.
Interesting.
So I've been pecked at in the neck, which is the worst part. It was more so like shocking because it's like it happens and it's over. It's like, oh god, that just happened.
What just happened?
But
Yeah, yeah,
mostly just like in the arms and stuff like that. And they're not doing it out of like aggression. They're just curious. They're just pecking at you just because that's what they do. Um, they're just really awesome, and like feeling their body. It's like because when you think of a bird, it's like a little fragile, like you know, hollow animal. But like no, there's bone, there's meat. Like
that's a tough animal. Yeah.
it's tough, And then raising the babies is insane. Little tiny duckling looking things that grow into like the size of an ostrich in less than
Do
a
you guys
year.
breed
You
them?
know? Yeah, we have our one male. So whenever we get eggs and stuff, we'll go ahead and collect them, incubate them. Their eggs are strange. It's like porcelain. They don't feel like organic material.
Interesting.
And after incubation, they're about the size of. I'm trying to think of something I have that's about the same size as the babies. They're about the size of like a like a football. I'll say again.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
big. And they're just the cutest little things because it's like they're just fun. They just run around the office just like little crazy people. They're
That's
pecking at
awesome.
everything. They're pecking at your shins and stuff, but they grow so quickly. It's not even funny. Like we have the ones that were born like 2 months ago, and they're already about quadruple the size. And by the end of like within a time span of like a year and a half, they're already fully grown. So
That's
going
crazy.
from a little tiny egg thing to a 6 foot bird, it's crazy. But yeah,
Yeah.
those are my favorite to work with hands on because I don't know, they just do it something for me. I don't know what it is. Besides that, it's training the giraffes and the bongo. But besides that, ostriches super fun.
Yeah. giant bird. I'm not surprised.
Hmm.
Yeah, even just being in the safari car and like being like 4 feet from one was an
Yeah,
insane experience. You're like, this is a giant bird. Like you said, like a bird that's bigger than me, just
yeah.
standing
It's
right
weird to think
there.
about.
You're like,
It's weird to think about.
it's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, yeah. Not that I'm that big, but yeah, it's insane. It's insane for sure. I didn't see the babies. I guess they're not out in the field yet.
No, the babies we keep in our barn area,
Still, okay,
because those
cool.
don't really get put out to the safari. Um, those get raised, and depending on what we decide to do with them, they either get released into the safari or they get transferred to other facilities and stuff like that.
Right.
Um,
That makes
and that goes for any babies that we have to pull, because sometimes we'll have to pull baby buffalo or antelope or something like that, which is crazy experience having to pull babies, like sick babies from the safari. It's like a whole like military operation. Like we have to have somebody
definitely.
distracting, we have to have somebody grabbing, we have to have somebody like holding down, because these babies, yeah, they're babies, but they're the size of like a Great Dane, so you gotta put some muscle into it, and that's scary sometimes because those hooves have knives at the end of them. So you got to be careful. But again, can't complain. It's an amazing job to have, and I get to work with my friends again too, which is super fun. So
Yeah,
wouldn't have it any other way.
that is awesome. I am definitely going to come back very soon and go around that
Hell yeah,
safari again.
man.
It was a lot of fun. It's a very cool, just all of Wild Florida in general. It was very cool to see.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. It's a cool spot.
Yeah, very very cool. I mean, Florida in general was awesome. But
Yeah,
anyway, Eric, thank you very 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 much for coming on, man.
of
This is an
course,
awesome
man. Thank you for
episode.
having me, man. It's the first time I've ever been invited on anybody's podcast. So
Of
I'm
course,
honored. It's awesome to
I'm
be here.
honored to be the first. There we go. That's
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again for sure. I want to have all three the reptiles with boys on together. Like I want to have
Yeah.
you all on together. So we'll plan that soon. And yeah, man, this was awesome. Let everybody know where they can find the Reptiverse or any other
So
thing that you want to
yeah, I
promote.
mean,
Yeah,
if the people want me, Eric, they can find me on Instagram as Reptiverse. It's like Universe, but instead of uni, it's Repti. And you can also find me on the Reptiles with podcast with Modern Reptile. That's on YouTube, on Instagram as well. Yeah, that's the main podcast with Chuck and Yosh. So you can find me there as well. But that's all I got. I don't really have other socials or anything like that. I have Reptiverse on YouTube too, but it's not an active channel. But
for
that's
now.
what I got going on for
We'll,
now.
we'll get him there. We'll get him there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. All those links will be in the description. Once again, Eric, thank you very much for coming on, and everyone else, thank you
Thank
for
you.
listening. We'll see you on the next one. Yeah, no, for sure. We'll have Eric on very very soon. But yeah, peace, everybody.